Hello, this is Mr. Jarrett, and in this video tutorial, I'm going to be modeling this object right here. So far we have learned how to use a plane to do a mid-plane. We've used a plane that's offset. We've used two different planes that are created by using construction lines, and this is another example of one of those. So this is kind of a rather odd part because it does show a section view in here as well. Notice some of that is broke out. It's a broke out view. So you can actually see that it just has a little thin wall thickness. It's not a solid bottom. It's just a little thin wall. And this weird tube shaped piece. So there's very small, tight, niched dimensions that are in here that I'm going to help you work through. But this is the part when it's all finished. This is how it's going to look. So you can kind of see my construction line that's on the top, a little in a zigzag form, and my plane goes right through that last construction line. Okay, so let's start out by making a new part, and I'm going to pull this to my other screen. Make sure that you are in inches, by the way. This is not a metric drawing, it's all in inches. So we're in inches in SolidWorks. We're going to go to the Sketch tab. We're going to select Sketch, and we're going to be sketching on the front plane. Okay, so it shows that the origin is right around a little circle. So I'm going to draw a small circle. And then it also shows that kind of have like a V shape with a curve, and then it squares off at the top. You can just use your line tool, or a rectangle tool would be an easy way of starting. So if we use a rectangle and we draw up here, then I can get my line tool, connect from the corner down to something like this, hit escape, hit your line tool again, draw down, and you could switch over to your tangent arc tool, but I may have showed you this trick already. If you move back over that little point and wiggle your mouse around, it actually turns into an arc tool. So we can click the other side. I notice it made both of those tangent. So if I don't want to do it with my line tool, if I did it with the tangent arc, it does the same thing. Just wrap it around and make sure both of these are tangent. And you can simply select both lines and set them to tangent if it's not. Now my center point, however, is floating up here. We actually want that center point to be right on the origin. So if we select this circle and this arc and make them concentric, it will lock the center right here of that arc. So from here, we can go ahead and start to dimension all of this. Our circle itself has a diameter of 0.5. This arc down here has a radius of 0.75. It says from the very top line down to the origin is 1.25. Okay, and that kind of screwed some things up here. So you might need to hit escape, zoom in a little bit, and move some things around. So there we go. I had to readjust. So if yours kind of screwed up and you couldn't click on the blue line to move it, you might just want to hit undo and go back. But we wanted to dimension this thing as well. So this little vertical line here is 0.38, 0.38. And everything else is still kind of blue because it doesn't really have a distance apart. So from our origin to this far side, it says it is 2.75. And the entire thing, so the top line is 5.5. Okay, so now it should all be fully defined. So from here, we'll go to the Features tab and hit Extrude. And we're going to be doing two different extrusions for this. So the first one is going to be this piece, and we're going to send that to the back. And we are going to extrude this a total of 0.38. So if you're wondering where I'm getting these measurements, that sidewall, that little tiny piece here, I found that measurement way over here, and this one that I'm extruding right now is this small one of 0.38. Okay, then we're going to do the top extrusion, that's this, and extrude all the way back the total distance of what it needs to be. So this is 0.38, and I sent that in reverse. I'm going to hit the green check. I'm going to hit extrude again, and it's going to ask me for a sketch. So I'm going to hit the drop down, and sketch. And this time I'm going to select this rectangle and I'm going to send that in reverse. And to get this measurement, we're going to have to do a little bit of thinking, some math here. So if I zoom in on this picture, you can see very slightly, it says from the very front to the center of this circle is 1.5 inches. Well, that circle to the back is the distance that we need. Well, we do luckily have a curved corner back here that has a radius of 0.75. So we know from the center of this circle to the very back is 0.75. So it's 1.5 plus 0.75. So we're looking at 2.25. Okay, 2.25. And if you couldn't do that math in your head, of course, you could just type in 1.5 plus 0.75 and SolidWorks would do it for you. We'll hit the green check. And now you can see we have our whole base pretty much drawn. We need to fillet these corners next. And by doing that next, that's actually going to give us a center point. So this is a radius of 0.75. We can rotate around. And I want this small vertical line. Rotate to the other side. Same small vertical line. Green check. And now that's going to give us a center point that we can sketch on here and put our holes down through. So let's sketch right up on top of this. You might need to hit Control-8 so it rotates to a nice flat view. We're going to get the circle tool, and notice there's no center point that shows up, but if we move our mouse over the arc and just pause, then it pops up. So we can draw right off of that. Do the same thing over here. Draw right off of that. We'll hit Escape. I'm going to select both of these circles, and I'm going to set them to equal. And they are also 0.5. And I know that because that little hole that was on the front, meaning this one, it actually says in the picture that there's 3 of them. So these are the other 2. So Features tab, Extrude Cut, and we're going to set this to Through All. Green check. So I would recommend saving right here because the next part is where you're going to be making the plane, and some computers don't like that. So once you have it done, or once you have saved, we're going to be sketching up on top. And I'm going to hit Control-8, and this is that part where we're going to make that zigzag construction line. So get your line tool and set it to For Construction. We're going to be drawing right from the middle of this circle, and it's going to go out, down this way, and notice it projects a perpendicular. That's actually good. That's what we want. So you're going to make a zigzag form kind of like that and hit Escape. So we want it to be perpendicular here and here. Now our measurements, if we look close at this picture, we are looking for 3 or 4 different measurements. First measurement is this 0.5, that's the length of the little line, and then this 1.75 is the length down, and then the line over is going to actually be the diameter of this circle, and the diameter is 1.62 all the way across. So that's 3 measurements. Let's see if that fully defines this for us. So this one's going to be 0.5. Notice my measurement's on an angle. It's not straight up and down like this. You got to make sure it's out on an angle, okay, because it's the true length of that line. This is going to be 1.75, and then this one is a total of 1.62. So it doesn't make everything fully defined. So what we have to now figure out is how we get it fully defined. So if I actually hit Escape, see, I can rotate this thing still. Well, you'll notice on your picture that you have this odd measurement of 45 degrees hanging out here. That means this tube comes off at 45 degrees. So how we actually get that is by dimensioning this construction line to the bottom and making it 45 degrees. Okay, so now that that's all set, we can hit Return from Sketch. I'm going to be going to the Features tab, Reference Geometry, and Plane, and we're going to be making a plane that goes through that construction line. Okay, just straight up and down. That's the only reference we need, straight up and down. Green check. Okay, and if it says it needs a rebuild error, we can select this top piece, and I guess we did need 2 references, so that is my fault. Okay, but it's going perpendicular to this top and coincident to that construction line. green check. Let's sketch on this plane, and we can hit Control 8 so it rotates around to a nice view. And this is a little hard to see what we're drawing, so I like to just rotate up just slightly so I can see my construction line. Here I'm going to get my line tool. I'm going to click on this dot, but right now it's probably not going to let us connect to it. So I'm just going to kind of put it in that area, draw over, draw up, and then we need an arc. So again, you could use your arc tool, or you can move over this mouse over that little dot, and it's going to arc around until it kind of projects, and we're going to go straight back down. So I'm going to hit escape, and if you want to just use the arc tool, that's fine. Just make sure that this is a tangent arc, and if it's tangent, obviously, then that's going to make these two lines equal. So you don't really need to set that. So as far as the size goes, I'm going to move this off to this side, and I'm going to select that dot, hold in Shift, and I'm going to select this little dot down here, and I'm going to set it to pierce. So it's going to connect down there. So piercing is like making it coincident with another entity from a different sketch. We'll do the same thing on this side, pierce that, and it just needs to know this height. So if we measure this height is actually 0.62. You can see that right there on the sketch, 0.62. Green check here. We can go to the Features tab, and we're going to be extruding, but not all the way out, only to this surface. So just like in the last activity, we changed it from blind to up to surface, and we're selecting on this surface right here, so it stops. Then we'll hit the green check, and I'm going to be sketching again on that plane. So click off of everything, sketch tool, and click on the plane. We're going to hit Control 8, and this time we need the tube shape. So if I move my mouse over this arc, get your circle tool selected, move your mouse over this arc, and the center point pops up, and we're going to make it the exact same size. You can move it on out, select, and if it doesn't make it the exact same size, you can do two things. You can dimension it to 1.62, or you can simply just select the two of them, and you can actually make these co-radial, which means it will make it the exact same radius. Now we're going to go to the Features tab and hit Extrude. And this time, we're going to be extruding all the way out. So the total length, and that is going to be 2.75, and green check. You can see what this did here. It kind of extruded all the way out. It didn't cut through the bottom or anything because it's lifted up. So it looks good. So we need to make one last sketch here. That's going to be on the plane again. Control 8, get your circle tool. It's going to be on the same center, and this is going to be the hole that goes through the middle. So this hole is a diameter of 1. Features tab, extrude cut, and we're going to do through all. So it cuts through all, but notice it goes back the wrong way. So you might need to switch it this way so it goes through the whole tube. So green check. So if that plane bothers you, you can just right click and hit hide. That's the eyeball. Same thing with the sketch if that bothers you. The last thing we need to do here before we change the material is the fillet tool. So we're going to get fillet on the Features tab, and it actually shows, oh, okay, my activity says do not add fillets because there's nothing specified for the fillets, so don't add them. So even though it shows it here, I told you not to, and I show you what the picture looks like. So we want gray cast iron. So we can get off of this fillet tool, change our material to gray cast iron. So that's going to be in the iron folder. Hit apply and close. Evaluate this thing, and you should get 2.52 pounds. If you got that, you can save it and move on to the next one. If you didn't, try to problem solve, figure out where you went wrong, and good luck.